Hi, everyone, and welcome to our webinar today with the Clinician Engineer Hub, bridging the gap between clinical medicine and engineering. And I'm very excited to introduce our guest speaker for today's webinar, Venkata Gandikota, who is a fellow here in Cambridge at the Judge Business School and an expert in the topic of frugal innovation. He is also the co-founder of Frugal, which is a non-profit organization based in Finland. So Venkata, pleasure to have you here this evening and looking forward to hear your presentation on frugal innovation, sir.
Thank you very much, Neil. I'm honored to be doing this talk. I'm very happy, to know you and what the clinical engineer hub, clinician engineer hub, what you're doing. So yeah, very excited. So I'll briefly introduce myself and then I'll give a few examples of frugal innovation in the health space, and then I'll talk why frugal innovation is needed, especially maybe in the context of health and wellness, right? So very briefly, so I graduated as a chemical engineer in India in '99 with a bachelor's degree, and then I moved to the US to do my master's in environmental engineering. And I read this book called The 2 Mile Time Machine in 2004. I was in the US between '99 and 2005. In 2004, I read the book, and then that book basically talks about drilling a 2-mile ice core in the Greenland ice sheet and how you decipher past climate and do modeling to predict future climate scenarios. And then, so I was very interested to do something on climate and glacier research. And I ended up in 2005 in Finland, where I lived for 18 years till 2023 November, basically. And November 23, I moved to UK to be a fellow at the Judge Business School. But in between, so I was part of a polar expedition in Svalbard, and I did lots of different sorts of climate, glacier, and environmental research till 2011. And in 2011, I, by chance, ended up at a startup hub, waiting to hear a talk. And then I met a few people who are, small and medium enterprise owners and some startup founders. And they wanted somebody to help them go to India. And then what happened eventually was I ended up doing some market research for them. And by 2012, the first year, I was getting feedback from the Indian customers that these Finnish products were really great and these Nordic products were really great, but they were like really expensive. And they were asking like, is there an affordable alternative? And that was actually when I came across the term Jugaad innovation and frugal innovation. And I happened to read the book Jugaad Innovation by Professor Jaideep Prabhu, co-authored with Navi Raju and Simona Huja. And for me, that was an eye-opener. And then I thought, like, we need these businesses to understand that they can and should create good quality solutions that are affordable and accessible. They need to create frugal innovations. And so I co-founded this nonprofit called InnoFrugal in December 2013, a decade ago, with a couple of Finnish colleagues. And so I've been in that space ever since. So why do we need frugal innovations? Let's put it in the context of sustainable development goals. If we want to achieve, any of these 17 goals, I believe we need to create affordable, inclusive, scalable, sustainable solutions. And then we need frugal innovations in there. How to get there, right? So I'll give a few examples of how not to get there. Some useless innovation.
Hey, this is Jake with The Verge, and we are here with the Juicero. It is a really fancy juicer that is able to make cold-pressed juice right in your home. That's apparently a pretty difficult thing to come by, so Juicero is trying to make it really easy. It's supposed to make delicious cold-pressed juice, the finest of juices, but it does that in the most extravagant way possible. Here's how it works. Once you have the juicer, Juicero will deliver packs of pre-cut fruits and vegetables to your home. You then put those packs in the juicer, and bam, it makes juice. No mess, no hassle. They take about 2 minutes to make. Most of the juices are pretty vegetable heavy, but there's enough fruit to give them a nice, tart taste. I tried one called Sweet Greens with apples, spinach, and kale, and another called Carrot Beet with carrots and beets. They were pretty good. Okay, but here's where it gets weird. On each package is a QR code. That code is customized to every single package. Scan it with your phone, and Juicero's app will literally
So this is now talking about this Juicero, which is nice and dandy. But then let's go to this next explanation of what is actually doing. Right. So yeah, I start off with this typically because I want to show what a useless innovation can be. Sometimes you get into these Silicon Valley type of bubbles, and then you think, yes, probably there is an innovation. Yeah, probably you can press something with 4 tons of force as they marketed it and so on. But, you think like, okay, they started initial price point of $700, and then it eventually came down to $399 within the first year. But if you take a step back, they actually received $120 million worth of funding. And these are like investors like Google Ventures and Kleiner Perkins and so on. And like, what's going on here? What's going on? So yeah, eventually, obviously, they shut down within the next 1.5 year after these type of reviews came out that you could basically squeeze it with your hand. You don't need a $400 product to like squeeze juice packets. So sometimes what happens is innovation for the sake of innovation in a bubble can lead to the wrong types of innovation. So what we want is the opposite of these type of useless innovations. So I like this quote from Steve Jobs. It's about saying no to all but the most crucial features. And this is actually what frugal innovations are about. They're about like reducing complexity. Don't do complexity. Do things that are simple. So that once you keep things simple, you're able to use less resources, and then you're able to create a more accessible and affordable solution. So this is, I think, a great quote to remember. So how does one define frugal innovation? So there are a few multiple definitions, but this comes pretty close to how everybody perceives frugal innovation these days. So frugal innovation refers to the process of reducing the complexity and cost of a good, its production and deployment. So basically it involves reducing complexity and re-engineering products and services and business model innovation. So it could be, you're redesigning, re-engineering how a product or a service should be, but then sometimes you could also use business model innovation to create a more affordable, accessible solution. So either way, you're creating frugal innovations. So, but like everything, it needs the right mindset of overcoming obstacles. So, and yeah, if you don't have the right mindset, you won't even contemplate of, oh, I need this. I want to go along this path of doing and deploying frugal innovation. So the mindset is very, very crucial in this case. And then when we talk about frugal innovation, most people don't know what frugal innovation is. They have heard it for the first time. But then we say like, okay, let's take, do you know open innovation? Yeah, okay, then let's do open innovation. And then through open innovation, let's get to frugal innovations. Do you do circular economy? Yes, yeah, through circular economy, let's get to frugal innovation. So are you somebody who is in the maker movement? So you have access to maker spaces and so on. So let's take this this ability of these people who are doing DIY stuff and who are in the maker movement, and then get to frugal innovations and AI for impact. So how do we develop leverage people who are doing AI related solutions for impact and social good and do frugal innovation? So we put it in this context basically. I'll give you a few examples moving forward. Yeah. So why is frugal innovation needed? Why is it crucial? Yes. The constant demand for products and services is always increasing. There's always a constant demand for it, but then the actual available resources, it's finite, right? So this is at a very basic level, this calls for frugal innovations, I believe. So let's say a baby incubator, right? So this is typical baby incubator that one sees in hospitals and so on. And yeah, so every 10 seconds, the world loses a newborn. So what does a baby incubator do for premature babies that are born? They're put in a baby incubator so that, their survival rates increase. And then so they eventually are a healthy baby. So, but one of the biggest problems these babies face is regulating their body temperatures, which is what this baby incubator does. But these are complex and expensive. Typically, at a minimum, they start at $20,000 or more. So, and then most of the time, yeah, obviously they need a steady supply of electricity. And yeah, especially if you go to emerging markets, probably you'll see this in the major cities, maybe some expensive hospitals in some of the smaller towns, but they are not available in most places that you would actually need in most of these small towns, and then rural areas and tribal areas and so on. So what is an alternative? So back in 2008, 2009, there is a school for extreme affordability in Stanford. And what happened was a Nepalese NGO gave them a challenge question that we want, a solution for a more affordable baby incubator. So a team comprised of people from different departments. So some are PhDs and some are graduate students and so on. They came together as part of the School for Extreme Affordability program. And what their solution was amazing. So look at their solution. Right. So what did this team do eventually? What they realized basically that, so if you actually go back to the previous slide, so an incubator doesn't necessarily need to look like this. I have asked this question multiple times in multiple settings. And when I actually initially show this, and then, okay, maybe I'm putting these people at a disadvantage because, maybe you need more time to brainstorm and come up with an idea like this Embrace Baby Warmer product. But most of the time we think that, oh, maybe, we should use, if they're using steel or something like this in here, maybe we reduce by using plastic, or maybe we remove the wheels, so on and so forth. But they're still thinking that it should look like this type of baby incubator, right? But then this Embrace team, what did they do? They realized, like, what is the core function of an incubator, baby incubator, right? So the core function of this baby incubator is keeping the temperature constant at 98 degrees Fahrenheit for the baby. So then, obviously, then they designed this Embrace baby warmer, which looks like a sleeping bag, and then where you could put this heating pad sort of thing that keeps the whole setup warm for 6 hours minimum, 6 hours at a time, and so on. So a great innovation, a very low cost innovation that has been had sales of more than, I think, 500,000 of these have been sold so far already in various markets. So, yep. All right. So then let's take this example of air purifiers, right? So air filters, air purifiers, these are a big deal. So let's hear, so I'll set the stage. So the person who is speaking right now is currently associate professor at the Booth School of Business in University of Chicago. And then he basically in 2011, 2012, he was a Fulbright exchange PhD student in Beijing. And he came up with this air purifier idea when he was there. But this particular video you'll see is based in the Indian context, but nonetheless, it's great to hear from him the problem and the solution.
The air is killing us here in Delhi. I felt it personally. I felt my throat constrict while biking so much that I could hardly breathe. And in the winter, I was constantly sick and coughing. And it's not just a Delhi problem. Out of 122 cities in India, only one is below the World Health Organization's annual limit. So I decided to go out and buy a purifier. But I found the market was full of $1,000 expensive imported machines and companies saying that their patented HEPA technology was the best. I wanted to know what's inside those magic boxes that cost $1,000. So I opened one up to find out. And it turns out the active ingredient in most air purifiers is a HEPA filter. Then there's a fan to push air through that filter, and that's it. That's all you need to remove dangerous particles from your air. These HEPA filters sound fancy, but they were invented back in the 1940s. That means they're not patented. Anyone can make one. The material isn't expensive either. They're made out of synthetic fibers just like the shirt I'm wearing. So I bought a HEPA filter from a manufacturer online and strapped it to a fan I had at home. I turned it on in my bedroom every night, and after 4 weeks, the filter was black. But I wanted to know if it was capturing PM 2.5, the particles that can penetrate deep into our lungs and even enter our blood. So I bought a laser particle counter and tested it every night. And the data showed it worked. And then I couldn't stop. I went out and bought all the fans I could find and tested all of them. I found one fan that destroyed so much particulate, I called it the cannon. Then I tested those expensive machines in the same room and found the simple DIY cannon removed just as much particulate as that $1,000 machine I'd wanted to buy. And when you compare effectiveness to price across all these machines, there's no relationship at all between what you spend and what you breathe. Purifiers are just fans and filters. But big purifier companies don't make money that way. They say they have patented HEPA technology, space-age UV lights, or cutting-edge ionizers. There's even a company charging €100 for a pot to put a plant in. And it's all just marketing noise. The more companies can confuse us, the more money they make. And if we don't know this simple science, they can sell us extra filters we don't need and make more money off of it. And fewer people can breathe clean air. It made me mad that they were doing that, so I decided to try to fix it. I put all my data online for everyone to see, and I started Smart Air, a social enterprise that makes simple, minimalist air purifiers. That filter and fan I strapped together in my bedroom, we've shipped that to over 40,000 people all over the world. And with the help of an aeronautical engineer, we designed a new purifier from the ground up. By keeping things simple, this new machine puts out twice as much clean air as that fancy Swiss import and costs less than half the price. There are simple steps you can take to protect yourself and your family from air pollution. First, you can build your own. I'll show you exactly how I did it in this simple how-to guide on our website.
So I'll pause it here. So as you can see, so sometimes Yeah, as you go along these examples, one thing starts to get constant is need to understand like, yeah, you need to have the mindset of asking some questions of, yeah, does a baby incubator need to always look like that? Does an air purifier always need to be that expensive? What does it actually contain? What does it actually do? If you start asking these core questions, you start to get some answers to it. So just like in the baby warmer, the baby incubator that turned into this affordable baby warmer scenario. So what they realized was, yes, constant temperature is the key. Let's figure out how to get a solution that gives a constant temperature to the baby. So that was the one that looks like a sleeping bag, right? And now in this case, the air purifier is this thing. So basically first he did this kind of very jugaad kind of DIY sort of thing where he just put a HEPA filter and fan together and then like put a Velcro through it and then like started using a particle counter to like, see like what it actually does. And it does a pretty good impression of these very high priced air purifiers. And then of course, that's the DIY. What they eventually also did was created a very minimalist and very sleek looking air purifier that costs a bit more, but obviously a lot less than the ones that are on the market. So it's about that. It's about taking what is needed, keeping things simple, and understanding the core functionality and delivering it. So let's take this, for eyesight. Like, typically if you go to a doctor's office, you can see one of these like big machines, equipment, and so on. But if you go to villages or rural areas and so on, be it in Africa or Asia or Latin America, or sometimes be it even here in UK or actually in Finland or any of these other countries, if you actually go to some of these rural areas, they are further away and they don't actually have proper health resources and medical devices easily accessible to them. So the solution was developed that I'm going to show you was developed in the context of Africa, but it could actually be very well applied within the context of the developed world, where where you can go to remote areas and where there is less access as well. So let's see what the solution is, right? So it's a Peak Vision is the name of the startup. It's a UK-based startup. It's a clinically validated idea. It came out of Glasgow University, I believe. And I'll show you a small video about it.
Peak acuity is designed based on the logMAR, which is the minimal angle of resolution. Our test has been delivered on a smartphone, and therefore we've reduced the testing distance from a standard test from 6 meters to 2 meters. In a large study, we compared the ETDRS logMAR visual acuity chart to peak acuity on multiple patients in multiple settings. We built in various gestures to ensure that results could be recorded objectively. Here, as the patient points, the tester swipes in the direction that the patient is pointing, and the phone records whether a correct or incorrect response is given. If the patient says they can't see, shaking the phone records a can't see gesture. Peak acuity uses the ambient light meter built into phones, normally used to adjust screen brightness. For every test we did in our trial, we looked at how the ambient light was affecting the accuracy of the result. We found that above a reading of 900 lux, the accuracy drops off. We've therefore built in an inbuilt warning to help you with this. It's important that the right distance is maintained between the patient and the examiner. We recommend 2 meters or 3 meters depending on the setting of testing, and a pre-cut length of string or tape measure does the job satisfactorily. We tested peak acuity in the hands of multiple users, both non-healthcare workers, community volunteers, and eye health workers. Our trial involved a cohort of patients being examined on the ETDRS chart, Snellen chart, and peak acuity so that they could be compared with one another. Patients were tested in their own homes with both the Snellen chart and peak acuity. This was then repeated again in the clinic the following day, both the Snellen chart and peak acuity. They also had the ETDRS chart done as the reference standard. Our results showed the test to be as accurate as the gold standard ETDRS, as repeatable if not more so than Snellen, and faster than both tests. The detailed methodology and data were published last.
Again, if So I'll show you also a bit of.
Congratulations on being the proud owner of a Peak Retina.
So what they basically did
Now
was, this is leveraging new technologies for accessible, affordable solution, right? So the smartphone these days, it is more than just, used for WhatsApp and TikTok and so on, right? So it has so much computing power, it has so many sensors, it has all these nice kind of things and everybody these days has a smartphone, anywhere in the world you go. So leverage these type of technologies. But then the mindset again comes in one of the first slides I talked about, the frugal mindset. Like, do I want to go and do this, leverage my phone that I have to do this sort of a thing? So basically what the Peak Vision people did was, one, they leveraged the technology within a smartphone. They developed an app for it. And then they also developed something, what would be called as an add-on to the phone, which you can see basically.
Let's get started. Press to release the lens cap and remove. Rotate the clip dial anti-clockwise to release the clamp and slide Peak Retina from the clip. If your phone has a cover, remove it. Slide the clip fully over your smartphone and adjust the position so that your camera is midway between the sides of the magnetic strip. The clip will fit a variety of smartphones. Depending on where your camera is located, you may need to slide the clip over the side, center, or corner of the smartphone. Once the clip is aligned, gently tighten the dial by turning clockwise to hold the clip in place. Peak Retina has magnets on the back. Attach these to the magnetic metal strip on the clip. The Peak Retina examination lights should be directly over your smartphone camera lens. Press the button to turn on the examination lights. Turn on your phone's camera application. You can slide Peak Retina up and down the clip. Do this until the image is in the center of your phone's screen. Dilate the eye of the patient with eye drops before use. Hold the phone level, using both hands to keep it steady. The camera can be set to capture video or photos. Videos and photos will be saved in your usual gallery or photos app. Start 50 centimeters from the patient.
I'll stop it here, but you get the idea, right? So this way you don't need this, a fancy big setup. And there are these alternatives, and the whole setup costs less than £1,000 apparently. So yeah, a great frugal innovation in my textbook. So then if we take a step towards, so you saw some grassroots innovation, some social enterprises, some startups and so on. But then if you're actually going now to, let's say, a big company like Siemens Healthineers, so obviously they are in markets like India and all the emerging markets, but then how do they do frugal innovations? So it's great. They have this, lower cost by highly integrated system design, and they see if they could, do design to cost. Can they be, in a way, leverage that aspect? Agile co-creation with customers, can they leverage that aspect? Very briefly, I'll show you this example. This example was shown a few years ago in one of our InnoFrugal annual conferences by Aniruddha Dambal. So he's from Siemens Healthineers. And then, so I absolutely loved it. So on the left-hand side, you see a high-end radiography system that's probably, very expensive, and is in some of the advanced hospitals across the world, be it emerging markets or developed markets, doesn't matter. And then on the right-hand side, what you see is conventional entry radiography system, which most probably one can probably see in a lot of emerging markets. And then you have the functionalities and then the specifications for each of them, the one on the left and then one on the right. The one on the left is entirely digital. It is ceiling mounted and all those kind of things. It has a very nice user interface and updated IT system. The one on the right, the one that is analog, basically is floor mounted and so on. So what they did was, especially most hospitals and clinics and so on in emerging markets, they want to get updated from this analog system that they had, but obviously, they can't afford the very high-end system that Siemens has on offering. So what they did was they got the best of both worlds, in a sense, to create a very affordable digital radiography solution. So in the end, this is the one in the middle is what they came up with. So it is digital, but then it is floor mounted. And then, so I won't go into the details because I myself am not a technical person, but nonetheless, this was like very fascinating for me when he explained it. You can check it out yourself. But what's interesting is how they position themselves. So being somebody who's in the innovation strategy and being based in the business school, for me, this is more very interesting as well. So they don't necessarily play the games. They make it affordable, but they don't make it the cheapest on the market. They put a premium on like within 15-20% of the competitors, and then they rely on their own Siemens brand, the service, reputation, economics, and so on. So all of these come into focus, and so it's quite interesting. So there is innovation on one hand, and this is very important. Actually, I should mention for all the frugal innovations that we saw so far from these social enterprises and startups, and this big company. Innovation is just one thing, but if you want to get to the market, you need to understand sales, you need to understand communications, branding, business models, and all these kind of things to actually make it work. So yeah, you got to figure that out properly. What I'll do is I'll skip this, I'll share this later. So
the M19 Initiative started in March 2020 when all of us were hit by COVID-19. We started working on face shields to support the frontline workers, only to realize that we could make a very few of them in our lab while the situation demanded a lot more. That's when we reached out to all the maker spaces, small businesses, community organization, academia, university, industries, to work together towards a common goal of fighting against COVID-19.
That was the beginning of the M19 Collective, Makers Fighting COVID-19. The M19 Collective came together with an open source design philosophy to be able to manufacture in a decentralized manner, so that we can bring the best minds together to be able to solve the most pressing challenges and be able to execute with agility. Solving today's problems requires a multidisciplinary approach, and that's what makes the M19 Initiative special. In the last year, the M19 Collective has not just made face shields, but has made active respirators, rebreather masks, sanitizers, intubation boxes, and much more.
So since April 2021, the M19 Collective has reunited to try and come around to solve the oxygen problem that the country is currently facing. In the last couple of weeks, we have gone from knowing very little about how oxygen concentrators work to actually building prototypes, making improvements, and building them using locally available materials and resources. The collective has studied many of the open source designs that are available for oxygen concentrators, such as the projects from Oxykit, from Project Apollo, the ones from Maruth, or the reference design that TCE recently made. This has helped us to understand how the PSA technique for generating oxygen concentrator works, and helped us to design and improvise on the M19 O2 oxygen concentrator. And while members of the collective have been making prototypes in their labs, garages and factories, they have not lost sight of the fact that building a device like an oxygen concentrator requires really high quality and adherence to very strict safety requirements.
Collective innovation and social entrepreneurship is the key tenet to the M19 Collective. As of today, we have 154 labs and over 600 people across the world sharing their skills as part of the collective.
The collective has been prototyping together in multiple locations while building several prototypes and technical expertise for their local regions. The collective has been laying down a robust framework that we believe is not going to solve just today's problem, but also build confidence in citizen-led innovation. If the M19 Collective resonates with you, join, support, and spread the word.
So yeah, this is at the height of COVID. They were doing all these things. So as you can see, I'll go ahead. So yeah, if you go back to one of the original slides I had, like how do you get to frugal innovation? Leverage the DIY makerspace movement sort of people, like the just concluded example. Leverage open innovations, leverage circular economy. Leverage all these sort of things to get where you want to. I'll just show AI for impact is taking off. The concept of Frugal AI is something quite interesting as well. Actually, on November 22nd this year, we are doing a Frugal AI workshop here at Judge Business School. So how do we use minimum data sets to create AI models and so on, but how small is too small? This is a fascinating topic. There are already some use cases. There is a lot of research going on. So yeah, so this is something that is of great interest to us. Because the general talk is about large language models and whatnot. But then we need to take a step back and think like, okay, how can we make this simpler, right? So there's something happening. So this is actually a project. This is a European Commission Horizon 2020 project that Frugal and I are one of our consortium partners together with Fraunhofer and others. So this particular project is using open innovation challenges to solve for frugal innovations. I'll do a very quick video of it so that you get an idea.
Francis, frugal innovation by the people, for the people. Demand for affordable and high-quality solutions is increasing constantly. The Horizon 2020 project, Francis, aims at the development of frugal innovations in open innovation challenges that involve citizens. The first phase of the project establishes a scientific foundation with recommendations on how to involve different participant groups in the challenges and how to encourage the shared development of ideas. The second phase consists of 2 open innovation challenges, mentored by an industry partner who supports the participants in detailing their ideas. The first challenge is in the culinary world and home care targeting troubled families, people with minimalist lifestyles and elderly people living alone. During the second challenge, the focus is on using solar disinfection for water treatment, food and personal care, targeting minimalist consumers, low to middle income households in semi-rural areas, people in refugee camps and micro-entrepreneurs. The target countries of the challenges are Turkey, Germany, India, Egypt, Bangladesh and Uganda. There are grants awarded to selected teams from these challenges. The results of the challenges will be incorporated into the Citizen Frugal Innovation Framework to serve as a guide for future frugal innovation initiatives.
Right, so yeah, that's the whole set of examples. I believe the future is frugal. It has to be. A great quote from the Frugal Innovation book by Navi Raju and Jaideep Prabhu. Frugal innovation is not about making do, it's about making things better. Yeah, why is frugal innovation important? Absolutely, because it provides affordable solutions for all. It drives sustainability because you reduce complexity, you use minimum resources, you make things simpler. You bridge the healthcare gap. We saw some of the examples that I gave earlier. Fostering innovation culture, it boosts efficiency. But how do you get to create a frugal innovation culture? That's most important. Again, the mindset comes into space. You need to, it has been successfully shown that in the examples I have shown, especially in large companies primarily, you need to have cross-disciplinary collaboration. You need to promote resource consciousness, empowering local innovation, like we saw in these examples, the Smart Air Purifier, and then also the M19 Oxygen Respirator Initiative and so on. So yeah, basically have that mindset, embed frugality. Right, yeah, so here I will stop. Thank you very much, Neil, for letting me give some examples and throw some light on what frugal innovation can be.
Venkata, no, thank you. I mean, this was incredible. Very in-depth discussion, really, on frugal innovation. I have to say that I really love the examples, and I think all very relevant to the healthcare space. The baby incubator, I think that just blew my mind, to be honest with you. I have a general sort of closing comment.
Yeah.
So it's very obvious that innovation is crucial, and we should be always focusing on the cost-effective element of that. So as you went through the examples, you know, it was very interesting to start off with the juicer example, and the conclusion was that it was complete nonsense. And then with the frugal innovation examples, when you break down what actually is necessary with the incubator, you needed the sleeping blanket, so to speak. You didn't really need electricity.
Yeah.
When you then moved over into India and talked about air purification, just breaking it down to see what filters needed, so on and so forth. What I find unusual, because this is all very obvious, and this is what we should be focusing on, yet
Yeah.
2024, we're still in this environment of, very expensive innovation models and always trying to source out as much money as possible, and this kind of mentality. And what I find is that it's not needed, yet how do we overcome this? Because it's very important, I think. Should it begin, say, if you're in medical school, maybe it should begin that way, so that it's already embedded in the mindset, because you did speak about mindset a lot. Because seriously, in healthcare innovation and engineering, it seems to be, how much money can we raise? What's so expensive? And that kind of thing, which I think is very, very unusual.
Yeah. So basically what's happening is, I'll stop the sharing. And so what's happening is, the mindset is crucial, but it is, I think, absolutely about sharing these type of ideas. Like, somebody has to show people, like, here, like showing them that, yes, this can be possible. Doing things this way is also an innovative way of doing things. But I understand, especially in the healthcare scene, you need to be very careful. You have this clinically validated things. You need to go about FDA regulations, clearances, CE certifications, and whatnot. So the bar is set high, the threshold is set high. But there are some where that is not absolutely necessary. And then there are places where that is absolutely necessary. And then some of the solutions I have shown are deployed even with those use cases where you need a CE certification and so on. The Embrace baby warmer has a CE certification. So does the Peak Retina example that I have shown. So these are clinically validated, so on and so forth. So yes, it is possible. So it is, one is the mindset, but somebody has to champion, somebody has to evangelize that, showcase some examples. And then, otherwise we go about going in the same path. And then we have this fear of missing out, and then trying to get into AI and so on. But it always has to be, yes, AI, but how can we leverage AI for doing this? Right. So that's the way I see it.
I think that's really beautiful. Yeah. And you can go to many events on innovation, and you sort of get put together with teams and things, and it's always something very complex. That's the outcome, which is not necessarily needed. And don't get me started on the AI hype. But that's for next time. Well, fantastic, Venkata. Really, really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Neil.
If anyone watching wants to reach out to Venkata, I think you left your details on the slide, and you are available on LinkedIn.
Yes.
So yes, until next time. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for
Thank
joining.
you. Bye.
Bye-bye.